on Daf Pei Daled Amid Beis v'Chachamim Omrim, the Chachamim are the dissenting opinion, and they, with regard to Maser Oni, are Machmir, quoted in the Mishnah in the fourth parak Mai as the dissenting view to Rabbi Eliezer. Korei Shem, when you buy Tvua from an Amoretz, and that's called Mai, you have to be mafresh Maser Oni on 1/10 of the Tvua. And here we have a look of Kviyas Mokom, Kovelo Mokom, Bitzfono, Obidromo, Shalakri. And this Maser Oni now has a Mokom Mevurar V'Kri, it's Kviyas Mokom, and that's called Afrosha. And that's going to be masaking the entire Kri. However, even though he's chayav to be korishem, ain't tzorach lahafresh, he doesn't actually have to separate physically the maser oni from the Kri in order to invite the aniyim to take the maser. So he's not chayav in afroshas maser oni, but he definitely has to be koreshem and declare that there's Meiser Oni in the Tzofon, there's Meiser Oni in the Darom. Now, why is it that with regard to Meiser Oni, he doesn't have to be mafresh from Dmai, when the halach is in all Masros, whether it's Maser Rishon, Maser Sheni, then against his will, whether he likes it or not, he has to be mafresh the Maser. And in the case of Maser Rishon, he has to be mafresh, and once he's mafresh the maser, he'll have to take trumas maser from the maser. So what is the reason why, on the one hand, he's chayav, according to the Chacham, to be koreshe maser oni, but on the other hand, he doesn't have to be mafresh? And the Ran says the following, that the Chacham are of the opinion that Tvua, if you did not take off Maser Oni, it's Tevel Gomel. And those who eat it are Chayav Misa B'dei Shamayim. And therefore, it has to be Korei Shem. So therefore, if let's say you have Tevel, and you were mafresh all of Truma and all of Maser, but you did not take off Maser Oni, then if you eat that, you'll be Chayav Misa. And the Gemara explains the machlokas, my love, to Lamandi, according to the Rabbanon, Sveiko Tovel. Since the Isa Tevel in Maser Oni is an Isa Misa B'dei Shamayim, therefore in Sofei, there is a Shem Tevel. And Kosovar Islay Tovas Hano, according to the Rachamim, the Bala Tfu has Tovas Hano and Maser Oni, and he can choose whichever Oni he desires to deliver the Maser Oni to that particular Oni. The Kavan de Islay, Tovas Hano, Lo Mahani. Okay, now the Gemara is going to take this sheet of the Chachamim, that the Baal Atfu has Tovas Hano in Maser Oni, and apply this to the Nedarim. Keva the Islay Tovas Hano and Meiser Oni, which is mafresh from his Tvua, a woman who took a neder, and she prohibited herself from having a nomi called Brios Lo Mahanya. She's not allowed to benefit from Maser Oni, and that's why our Mishnah omitted Maser Oni, because if she takes the Maser Oni, she's going to benefit a Hana from the person who is mafresh the Maser. And therefore she violates Hanedu, Lamandium, but according to Rabbi Eliezer, who holds Eino Korei Shem. And what does that mean? That according to Rabbi Eliezer, because of a Sveiko and a Tovel, but if he has a suffix whether or not the Amoretz from whom he purchased the Tvua was Mafresh Maser Oni or not, then it's not considered Tevel. The Chol Sveiko Eino Tovel. if in the case of an Amoritz, because of that suffix of whether he was mafresh maseroni or not, there's no shame tevel. And that's why Rabbi Eliezer holds you don't have to be koresh shame maseroni in Tmai. Is Leslie Tovas Hanoah. Then therefore, by definition, the Bailam did not have a Tovas Hanoah and Meiser Oni. The Torah did not give and bequeath to the Baal Tvua after he was Mafresh Maser Oni to choose the Oni of his choice, but rather the Maser Oni is Hefker, and the first Oni who comes in and takes it is Zocha Bokol Akodem Zocha. Therefore, V'shori Leilis Hanuye, in the case of a woman who took a neder of Hanom and Abrios, she can benefit from the Maser Oni because there's no Tovas Hanoah. She's not being nenes from the Baal of the Tvua. She's being nenes and Zocha b'Meiser Oni min Hefker. And therefore, the Brisa mentions Meiser Oni in this list of Matnas Aniyim. Now, the question that we're left with on this sugya is the Chachamim Shita that if, in the case of Safek, with regard to Meiser Oni, there's Tevel, a shame Tevel, and that's because of the Chumra Sa'iser of Tevel in the case of Vadai, where you are Chayav Nisim Beishamayim according to the Chachamim, and therefore Sveiko is Tovel. So why is it that Eino Tzorach Lahafish, he doesn't have to be Mafresh? And again, to emphasize here, Eino Tzorach Lahafish Maser Oni Me'akriya, Rak Likros Lo Shem. As we mentioned earlier, with regard to Truma and Maser Rishon, Maser Sheni, he has to be Mafresh. Why doesn't he have to be Mafresh in the case of Maser Oni? So I was thinking maybe because of Hamotzi Mekavel of Haraya. I don't know. That should apply to Maser Rishon as well. So that's a question that we leave as an open-ended question. If you see anything, let me know. Normally, Abaye has a different understanding of the Machlokas, Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanan. The Kuli Avos Sveiko Tova. There's no question about it. Even Rabbi Eliezer agrees that Sveiko Tova. That means if he has a suffix, whether or not the Amaores was Mafresh Maser Oni, the Tvua is Asura Ba'achila Mishum Tevel. So what is the thorny issue about which they debate? Rabbi Eliezer Savalo Nechshadu Amei Oretz Al Maser Oni. Rabbi Eliezer relies on the Amaoretz to be mafresh maser oni. Came on the ilu mafki nekosei havi oni v'shokalehu. Less leip say the Rabbi Eliezer says that we're going to apply a kind of a migu here. That if he would be mafkir all his nechasim and make himself into an oni, then he's allowed to take the maser oni that he was mafresh for himself. And therefore, less leip say though, he does not suffer any financial loss by being maser oni, because if he wants, he can keep the maser oni for himself by being mafkir is nechasim. Again, how practical that is, I don't know. The Rabbanan are going to say that it's not practical at all, but according to Rabbi Eliezer, it's practical that the Amei Haaretz are not chashud, and therefore, in the case where you purchase this tvua from an Amei Haaretz and you have a suffix, you don't have to be mafresh maser oni. You can rely on the seller, in this case the Amei Haaretz, to have been mafresh maser oni. That's the shita of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbanan Savri, Nichse lo mafkinish. What a person is going to take a chance. Is this practical? Is this realistic? To be mafkiz nechasim. The Mir says he's certainly afraid Dilma and Sachibu inish achrina. Somebody will hear that he declared his property, his true as hefker, and immediately he's going to jump on it and be zocher. So therefore, he's going to be too scared, too inhibited to actually go through with this whole thing of being mafkir nechasim, and therefore he's not going to become an oni, and therefore he cannot be zocher and enjoy the benefits of these payros, and be ma'akev the maser oni for himself by making himself hefker, making himself an oni, and therefore he's going to lose 10% of his produce by being mafresh meiser oni. We're going to be suspicious of the Amioritz, even with regard to Maser Oni. Maybe they weren't Mafresh Maser Oni, because if they do so, they'll have to give it to the Aniyim, and that's going to be a financial loss of 10%. So therefore, the Chacham hold in the case of Demai, you have to be Korei Shem Shel Maser Oni. Now, once Abai rejected the answer of Yosef, so we're not going to interpret the discrepancy and the contradiction between the Mishnah and the Brisa as being dependent upon the machlokas from the Elez and the Chachamim, because from Elez and the Chachamim are arguing about something entirely different, not the way Rav Yosef had interpreted it, that the machlokas revolves around the issue of Tovas Hana. So now we have to find an alternative answer to reconcile the Mishnah and the Brisa. And that's Rav Omer Khan in the Mishnah that mentions Leket Shikum Peh that she could be Nena from, but not Maser Oni. The Maser Oni Amischalik B'toch Habayis. The reference here is to someone who's giving out to the Aniyim Maser Oni from his house. So let's say, for example, we're in the third year of the Shemitah cycle. And during the entire summer period of the third and the sixth year, there was Meiser Oni, there was Mafresh from his Tfuah, and it's out there in the fields. Now it's the rainy season, it's the winter. He's going to take the Tfuah and bring it into his house. Otherwise, it'll get ruined by the weather conditions and the rains and so forth and so on. And now he's giving out the Meiser Oni to the Aniyim Bibeso, in his house. That's where he has the Tfuah now during the winter month. And he has a Tovas Hana. He's permitted to be Mechalik to the Aniyim Lefirit Sono. And why? Because it's in his house. The Chsivbe, with regard to Meiser Oni, if he's divvying it up from his house, Nesina. Here the Torah doesn't say Azima, but Nesina. And the pasuk reads as follows: V'nasata la Levi la Ger la Yosem la Almona. So again, this is the mitzvah of Meiser Oni, and the Torah employs the word V'nasata. And V'nasata means you will decide which of the Aniyim you want to give the Meiser Oni to. That's Tovas Hana, and it's yours. Mishum Hachi Asalei L'Sanriye. Now we understand very well why in the Mishnah Meiser Oni is not an option for her to be Nenem and Abrios, because it's not Hefker. There's a bit of Nesina. That means that she's receiving the Meiser Oni from the Baal HaSada and violating her Neder. But Khan in the Brisa, which allows her to take Meiser Oni, that's the Meiser Oni Mischalik Mitoch HaGronos. And here the pasuk says Hanocha, not Nesina, but Hanocha. So we're out here in the Goren, the place where they do the threshing of the Tfuah, the threshing floor, and they make it into a pile. The mafresh there, Meiser Oni, and the divvying out of this Meiser Oni takes place during the summer months, so it's not inside the bayis. And Kevin the Sid Bay with regard to Meiser Oni, when it's being divided up in the Goren, in the threshing hole, is V'inachta b'sharecha, And the language is hanocha. Hanocha means leave it, walk away from it, and it's hefker, any oni could come and take it. And therefore, Sharile Lisanuye, the woman who took this neder, prohibiting herself from anom and abris, is allowed to take this meiser oni, about which the Torah says hanocha in the case of mischali begorin. We go on back to the Mishnah, Kohanim Levim Nenim Li Yitlu. The Kohanim Levim are allowed to take their matanos against his will, unless he says Kohanim Elu Levim Elu Nenim Li, where he did not prohibit all the Kohanim to benefit from him, but only those particular singled out Kohanim and Levim. And in that case, Yitlu Kohanim Acher, other Kohanim or Levim will take from this person's, the Noder's Tvur. So again, if she or he took a general all-inclusive neder as far as Kohanim Levim is concerned, then the Kohanim and the Levim are allowed to take the matanos and just walk away with them against his will, and there's no violation of the neder. But if he specifies particular Kohanim, these Kohanim, right, and these Levim, then let other Kohanim and Levim take the matanos, not these. And the Gemara now raises a contradiction in the Mishnah from the Reisha to the Sefer. Right, the Mishnah says that if he generates hana al kol hakohanim Levim, they come and take the Trumas of Maisus Bal Korcho, Alma, Tovas hana eno moment. We see that even though the Bailim have Tovas hana in the cases of Truma and Maser, nevertheless, eno moment. The hana is not chashuva k'mamon. It's not considered like mamon. Because if this hana was considered like mamon, then the kohanim would not be allowed to take from him truma, because he had imposed an iser on them to be nene from him, from the noder. And that's considered a hana mamonis, a monetary benefit. So the Reisha of the Mishnah indicates that Tovas hana eino mamon. And that's why the Kohanim are allowed to take the truma. Ema Sefer, but let's analyze the Sefer of the Mishnah. Kohanim elu levim elu nenim li. If he, the noder, specifies particular Kohanim levim, he did not generate an Isar on all the Kohanim to benefit from him, but only on these particular Kohanim and Levim, Yitlu Acheret. Other Kohanim will come and take the matanos. Avalahani, but these particular Kohanim that he specified in his neder, lo, they're not allowed to take the Truma Meiser, Alma Tovas Hanomon. So it means that since he has the right to choose which Kohen he wants to give his Trumas HaMaisa to, that's called Mammon. And therefore, these Kohanim who are Mudarim, Bahana, are not allowed to take the Truma. So how do we reconcile the Reish and the Sefer? Ravashi, Hoshia, Lokasha, Enochinami. There's an absolute contradiction in the Mishnah between the Reish and the Sefer, but they represent two different shitos. It's not one Tana. Ha Rebbe, the Ha Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. The Sefer that maintains that Tovas hana is considered Mammon, and therefore going to be Machmir, is Rebbe. But the Reisha, where we came to the conclusion that Tovas hana ain't no Mammon, that reflects the Shita of Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. And the machlokas between Rebbe and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda revolves around whether Tovas hana is Mammon or not. This Sanya we went to the Brisa. Hagone Tivlo Shel Chavero. If Ruvain steals Shimon's Tvua before Shimon had a chance, an opportunity to be Mafresh Shumas and Maisers, and therefore it has the status of Tevel, the Acholo, and now Ruvain, who stole the Tevel, ate the tevel. Mishalin lo demei tivlo divrei Rebbe. And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Eino Mishalin el demei chulin shebo. Right, so the tevel is a mixture of chulin and truma, or chulin and maser. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi says that the ganav has to pay for the dmei chulin. He does not have to pay for the value of the trumas and maisis that's mixed up in this tevel. Whereas Rebbe says that he has to pay dmei tivla, the entire domim of the tevel. Not just the chulin, but even the dmei trumas and maisis. My labahako miflagi. And here we're up to daf pei. The Rebbe Sover Tovasano Momon, and therefore the Ganav has to pay even for the Trumas and Maisus of the Tevel because he's stealing Momon, because the Bailam have the rights to choose whom they want to give the Truma Maisus. To Rebbe Yossi Rebbe Yehuda Sovar, no. The Ganav doesn't have to pay for Tovasano because Tovasano ain't a Momon. In other words, this Kneva did not cause a monetary loss to the owner of the Tvua, because even though the owner of the Tvua has the right to choose his particular Kohen and Levi, but it's Eino Mamon. So the Gemara at this point is of the opinion of the Machlokes. What lies at the root of the Machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, is whether Tovas Hano is Mamon or not Mamon, and Nafkamina is whether the Ganav has to pay for the Chumas and Maisers or not. And tomorrow, B'Yitz Hashem, we'll see here on Daf Pei Hey that the Gemara is going to reinterpret the machlokas here between Rebbe and Rabbi Yossi. They're not arguing about whether Tovas Hanoah is moment, but everybody agrees that Tovas Hanoah ain't no moment. Okay then, let me wish you a great day.